Hey guys, this is Shawn. I'm with Ronin Man. We're walking around Pensacola, just walking around the streets. And I wanted to ask you some things and talk about. So I've said that you have almost died a lot of times. Pretty much every time I hear a story from you, every one or two stories, it's you almost died or something almost crazy happened or something that to me, in my mind, I just it's so crazy. It's a story that you don't really hear from anybody. It's usually a story that if somebody else tells that story, it ends with, oh, and I broke my leg, or oh, and I got a concussion, or oh, and now I'm paralyzed. It's those kind of stories. You know what I mean? Those are the kind of stories that that's how those stories end. But with you, the story ends with, oh, and I did this or I did this, and then I was fine. You know what I mean?
Right. So there's, to me, those stories usually end with this. Not only sometimes they end in preaching. They always end in preaching. They're like, oh, this is so, this that you shouldn't, and meanwhile, they're telling you a story that you're all pumped up on, and it's so fucking fake, because what they're doing is telling you the story, right? Then they're telling you you can't, or don't, or which way should we go? And so I think I think it's everybody is so. Let's see. First thing is, we are very intelligent beings. We have incredible instincts. You have to trust yourself to physically make it, right? To make it through the things you're going to have to make it through, right? And you have the instinct to do it. I think what all these warnings do is they give people this subconscious idea that they can't make it. They're not going to make it. See, what I'm really saying in my message is that you can make it. You can survive these. You are a versatile individual who can handle these situations, So you have to learn to trust your instincts, and you have to learn to be able to, I think, dig deep into your subconscious to make it through situations, right? Life is fucking hard, right? You can't protect yourself by walking around the mall all the time, something's going to happen in your life. Things are going to happen. And if you want your life to be anywhere near where I think you're achieving what you want to achieve, and you're testing yourself. I mean, men need to test themselves.
Yeah.
It's total bullshit that you just can walk around the mall all day and then you're a man. It's not true. It's totally not true. Ever since the Homo sapiens, I mean, we've been around, men have always had to go. Every culture, men have to go and test themselves.
That's right.
And women don't. And the reason is because, the best reason I've heard is that women have a purpose. There's a purpose built into their body. Mm-hmm. And that's the purpose traditionally was to have a child and raise a child and reproduce. Mm-hmm. That purpose has given, I should say, in the past, people great satisfaction. And it's one of these inevitable things that you just feel, it just I don't know, people don't like to think about these things, but that's what gave purpose to women in the past. And so they didn't have to prove anything because they were going to do it with the child. They're doing a lot, right? So, whereas for men, we're just sitting there, we would fuck them, there's a baby, and then it's what are we going to do so that baby is okay? So that woman is okay, right? So we need to do stuff to keep them okay, right? Traditionally, right? So I think every culture, they're I think, if, you look at any culture, any of these old historical kind of tribal things, they all are talking about what I'm talking about. And I'm not bringing in tribal stuff as some kind of, what do you call it? I'm not explaining anything, okay? What I'm saying is I'm going backwards here. I lived my life this way, and I'm trying to figure out what I was doing right now. Basically, right? Oh. I didn't say, oh, I'm going to go do this logical thing. No, man, it was I enjoyed it. The electricity of challenging myself and overcoming these things and learning how to adapt and adjust, that was very, very fulfilling for me, So I was like, fuck, this is the shit, like afterwards I'd just be so pumped and so energized from that experience, that testing of myself, right? And then I'd be like just excited, and I didn't even know what it was, kind of thing, because people would say to me like, the people would just be giving me warnings all the time, like you should watch this and be careful of that. But I trusted myself, and like one just dumb example was I played football for 1 year when I was in high school, because I was trying to impress my dad, and it didn't impress him at all. But I wanted to play football just to kind of thought, okay, that's what you do. You play football, that's going to get his attention. So I went and played football for a year, and the coach said to me, everybody had to stretch all the time, stretch before the games. And I said, I don't want to stretch, and I never stretched. And he said, well, you're going to get injured. And I was never injured. And even since then, I've never been injured because of not stretching. And now there's a lot of research into stretching where it actually damages and makes you more prone to injury. But I instinctively knew that. And it was hard when you're the only one who knows something about your body and everybody else is telling you, something pretty serious, like coaches. When you're a kid, like coaches are like a big deal, right? And they're telling me you have to stretch. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe because I'm inflexible, it just didn't work for me. Like, I wasn't going to really work. It wasn't going to really, yoga, because it's long-term enough and it's deep enough that I can start to stretch, right, with yoga. But the football stretches didn't even work. They were just dumb anyway. Like, they've all been replaced with new stretches. They were just dumb. It was stupid. It was fucking stupid. And I could sense it in my body. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to stretch. And he was just like, my coach was exasperated. He's just like, everybody stretches. Like, what do you mean you're not going to stretch? And I was like, no. And then I never got injured and I was fine. And the other thing was that when I was a kid too, I used to lay in the sun. I used to like to be in the sun. And everybody said, well, you'll get cancer. But now the research is that you get vitamin D mainly comes from the sun, right? Yeah. It doesn't really come through the inner stomach lining because most of it gets killed with the acid. So even if you eat vitamin D, or drink vitamin D, it pretty much doesn't go to the bloodstream that much. Like when they test the blood level, right? But whereas when you lay in the sun, that's the way we got vitamin D in the past. And vitamin D fights cancer. So I'm not saying like unlimited sun keeps you away from cancer, because obviously there's skin cancer, but it's a balance. And that vitamin D, I could feel when I was a kid that when I would lay in the sun, I felt good. Vitamin D makes your eyes see better, like follow a rock or like a bird better. You have that sense of focus when you have vitamin D, and it also helps many aspects, your bones, your mood, it helps a lot of things. The vitamin D is really important, right?
Helps absorb calcium.
Yeah, calcium, and just vitamin D is just kick-ass. It's a kick-ass, it's not even really a vitamin, it's more a hormone. Vitamin D is really important.
I've heard that. That's right.
So it's like a super important thing, I think for guys. And I sensed that. I remember I sensed it. And I was just like, I don't know, because I did see people in my hometown who were really super wrinkled up and fucked up. But somehow I instinctively knew they were doing something wrong. And turns out a lot of them, they had been drinking too much, not eating well. Obviously sun does damage your skin, but the vitamin D helps you. So it's a balance, right? You don't need that many minutes. But I guess what I'm saying is when it comes to danger or whatever, or any of these things we're talking about, you have to trust yourself. You have to listen. You have to know how to listen to yourself. Because what a lot of guys do is they kind of, I don't want to say trust themselves. They are very stubborn. Okay. So you can tell them something and they will not listen. And they think they're doing what I'm saying. Because they're like, oh yeah, I'm doing like Ronin because I'm totally not listening to anybody. I'm going to go my own way. It's not about that. It's like I'm listening to my body and I'm thinking there's a problem here because I lay in the sun and I feel better. I feel better. Like there's something wrong with what they're saying. I feel more energetic. I just feel like I was always very healthy and everything. And then the same with the stretching. So I say the same thing with challenging yourself physically is there's something very energizing about it. It's like it gives you this sense of, I don't know, you know what I'm talking about, but you have to listen to your body and be in touch with your body in order to hear that. So I'm not saying read a blog and then trust the blog. I'm saying you maybe read stuff, but I didn't read shit. I was just listening to myself to come up with these conclusions. Like, there was nothing I read above. I didn't even, there was no internet. There nobody, unless you bought a book from a dermatologist, there was nothing, there was nothing. It wasn't like, information wasn't as free as it is now, right? And I just didn't, we didn't read stuff, and like there was nothing about that. So I learned that the whole world can be wrong. And if I listen to myself, I just soldier on. Even if everybody tells me I'm wrong, like around me, they're always like, you're wrong, you're going to be injured, you're dumb, you're not listening, you're stubborn. And I'm like, yeah, in the end of the day, I was kind of like, yeah, whatever, because,
That's a really good point, because whenever in those stories, whenever like something happens to you where you might die, the thing that gets you out of it is never like, oh, I remembered that you could do this one thing, or I remembered this or that. It was never like some logical something you read online. It was always like something about you listening to your own body. Like you're like,
yeah.
and instinctively I jellyfished. Or, instinctively I did this. Or I tried to move my body like this. Like it's never something, some factoid or something like that. So that's
too fast. It's too fucking fast,
Yeah.
When you're in a traffic accident or whatever, and you are suddenly, crashing, right? Let's say somebody hits you, or something goes wrong, right? And like the jellyfish we were talking about yesterday, it's like the jellyfish is basically when a drunk driver, the reason why they don't get injured is because they're very relaxed, and so it confounds obviously the police and everything, because the innocent person will be injured or get killed, and the drunk person will not be. But what you can learn from that is that you need to learn to jellyfish. So that's what I do whenever I'm in an accident, or something hits me, or I fall off something, or whatever. I go into this, like my whole body just relaxes, and I just bounce off things, right? I just kind of like totally jellyfish. And then like my whole body, like every muscle, just boom, I just bounce off something, right? So like, for example, like in India and China, like people used to drive very erratically, right? So I've been like bounced off cars a million times, but I just kind of like boom, bounce off. If people are like, oh, you couldn't, it's like, what do you mean? Like these stories I don't even tell, because all you got to do is jellyfish off the car, you're fine. Like they're not even a big deal. It's just, I think most people, they're just so in their heads, and they're so rigid and so scared. That's what gets them in trouble, right?
You know what I think? I think because you've listened to your body this whole time and you're so in tune with yourself, when those situations happen, you're able to react appropriately. And I think other people, like, they go their whole lives not being tested. And when they're 35 or when they're 40, they decide to, I'm going to go do something crazy. I'm going to jump off this thing. And they crack their head. But it's like a skater. Like skaters do crazy stuff.
Skaters, that's what I learned. I skated a lot.
But they never like Tony Hawk would never just split his head open.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
He even if something crazy happened, he could recover because he's used to it. He's got the skills. He's in practice. Whereas I could do something crazy like he did, and I could totally crack my head open because I have no skills in that area, and I've never, and especially somebody who's never listened to their body. They just. I think it's 1,000 little things that they just wouldn't do right.
Skating is a big deal. Like I skated a lot. I gunned hills a lot, and ate crap. Like all kinds. I could tell you all kinds of accidents on my my skateboard. And I learned. Like I'd be sliding. On the asphalt, and like sometimes I slid so much that I tore off all my fingernails on one hand. Yeah, and like. This bump where your thumb is, like that got burned off, and just like, I was this complete mess, but I was totally relaxed, right? So I didn't have any serious injury. Everything just kind of gets better, and I think most of life is like that. So relaxing, physically relaxing, trusting your body, understanding that Yeah, you could be like Tony Hawk. Like, you want to be like Tony Hawk, right? Like the Tony Hawk you described there. Because it's important, because you just don't know when something's going to happen, right? You're going to get hit by a car, someone's going to, somehow, something's going to go, the car's going to go off the road, you're going to break, a tire's going to blow, and you're going to go into a pole or something, right? Just jellyfish, just fucking jellyfish, just Tony Hawk, and just and then you're done. You just get out of the car and fucking, call the insurance company, right? Or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's been kind of my life. So I think a lot of guys on this channel probably can relate to this, have stories like this. So I'd like to hear, what it is we're describing here. But it's a self-protection mechanism that gives you not superpowers, but it allows you to explore the world. Because see, without this ability, I mean, like, even something dumb, like I know this guy, he went to France, bought a house, he had this little like French staircase, like a round French staircase, like you go around the house in the living room, and then he fell off and broke both his arms. And I know this guy since I was a kid, and like he was basically incapacitated coming down a fucking staircase. And I was just thinking, like, oh my God, like, that's terrible. Like, so it caused him to not want to be in that house that much, right? You know what I mean? Like, there's huge implications if you're like a sitting duck for injury kind of thing, You can't travel. Like, how can you go travel?
So I had a friend, I have a friend named Brandon, and he was benching 315. And
Okay.
he's super strong. He could bench 375, right?
Yeah.
So he had 315, and he just yanks it around like it's nothing, right?
Yeah.
And this is the first time he'd used this bench, and so he was yanking it around, and he wasn't used to the bar, and it slipped out of his hands from pretty high up, and all 315 dropped directly onto his chest and bounced up. Like, there was no time to catch it or anything. It bounced. And he immediately, because he's been bench pressing for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So instinctively, his hands went down. After it bounced, caught it. He stopped. He like took a breath. And then he immediately re-racked it.
Right.
And then just checked his sternum. And he's like, I'm good. But I've known people that 160, they drop 160 pounds on their chest. And their chest is completely destroyed. Well, they are crippled for life.
It's interesting you say that, because that's where I would break with that guy. I mean, if that happened, I would hope that I would bounce off my chest, right? But I've always been scared of the bench press, because I've seen people crush their windpipe, and I don't think it's worth it, because I think the bench machines, the Smith machine, if you get on a Smith machine, you can do plenty good bench. I like free weights, but I think people exaggerate the value of free weights sometimes.
So
there's a lot of guys who exaggerate the value because it's kind of an ego thing or something.
Yes.
Or maybe they believe it. I shouldn't say that. Not everybody.
Well, the bench press gives you big numbers.
The bench is. I don't think it's the most important weight. I think deadlifts and squats, which we're going to do today, right? Nice. Those are super important. But the bench, I think the bench and the arms. A lot of guys, they want to have big arms and big chest, but that's not where it's at.
And that's a good point, because my friend Brandon, he can bench 375, but he does not look in shape. Like his arms are pulled forward, because they're so his chest is so strong.
Right.
He has bad posture. And his arms are actually, like, his shoulders almost look bizarre. Like they actually slope down.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot to learn from that story, actually, because one is, I every time I lift, like if I am in a place where there's no Smith and there's no machine and I'm on a bench and I'm pushing up some serious weight, I always remember that one slip and my it could land on my throat and kill me, like, so easily.
Yeah.
So I always remember that, and I like to take risks in the sense that I like to be in situations where my body's challenged, but this is not the kind of thing for me, because it's kind of dumb, because there's other ways to do it, right?
Yep.
And again, it's one of those things that if you focus too much on the chest, I just think it's the wrong way to go. You want to be balanced with your legs all the way to your feet to your hands, where you're like a strong robot or something, like a Google robot. Every part of your body can lift the other part. Like, it's a balanced machine, right? That's what you want.
And
Not one part is really strong and the other one is not.
You're laying down, so it's kind of like lazy. Because exercise, you really shouldn't be laying down. In a bench press, it's almost like you're asleep, and it's a compound exercise, but it's the weakest one of the three, because all you're doing is just your chest and your arms, unless you're doing some crazy stuff.
The most of your muscles are in your back and your legs.
Yeah.
So if you do deadlifts and you do pull downs and you do different things for your back, you'll have a strong core and you'll have a strong back. Because in the end of the day, you're doing your exercises for your health. That's the mindset. Right. It's for your strength and your balance and your health. And then if you end up looking good, that's great. But it's not the goal. Although there's nothing wrong with having a goal of looking good. So once in a while, I will break this rule. So for example, I think that the lats, like the V shape, I read a study about how they showed women silhouettes of men, and the ones that they found very attractive there's two things that they had in common. One was they had the V shape in the lats. That makes you the V shape, small waist and then a V, and the wings coming down, right? And then the other one was dancing. When people dance, they use their legs. So they're not just moving their arms, right? It didn't even matter if they knew the latest dance moves or if they, like they knew whatever was the cool dance at the time. That wasn't the thing. The sexual attractiveness to women was a man who he's moving his hips and there's blood flowing through his hips. And it's like the reason why that's attractive to women is because that signals a healthy man. So a healthy, balanced man. There's a healthy, balanced man is attractive to most females. Just like we find certain things on females attractive. So it's not that you want to attract women. It's that the mindset here is and there's nothing wrong with attracting women, and that's great. But the mindset is that women are our counterpart, right? They're watching us, right? They ever since, even when we were like mosquitoes or whatever the fuck we were before, just, other animals, right? As we evolved up, two-celled, organisms, there was a female and a male, and the female was always interacting with the male and watching the male and mating with the male that was the most attractive. So they would be, the things that they like it would be worthwhile to take seriously, because as other evolved species, they are very intelligent in some aspects. They're incredibly intelligent, and one of them is judging the health and virility of a man. Yeah. So they're very good at that. Whereas guys, we can't really tell. We see a guy with big arms, we think he looks great. We think he's looking good, right? That guy's fucking got it going. The girls are looking. They might say something about the arms, but instinctively they're looking for that other, more deeper thing, right? So the V shape shows incredible health apparently, and the ability, you're moving your hips, you're moving, you're not like you can move your hips, you're dancing with your hips, you're using your whole body to dance. So next time you dance, like go in the mirror right now, just get your hips moving, like bend down, move your hips. It doesn't matter that much what the song is. It doesn't matter what the if you're on beat or off beat. I think being on beat or just dancing with music is a great feeling. There's something very invigorating about it. It's a good thing. But more importantly is move your hips, bend down, move your hips, move your whole body. Look on the dance floor and see the people that are just moving their hands, and they have no footwork. They're not moving their feet. They're not moving their hips. You want to move your feet and move your hips. Watch people that dance like that, and that will, when you start doing that, you will feel the blood flow. You'll feel that it's right. You'll be like, oh, Ronin Man's totally right. This is right. You can feel it, right? So it's like a lot of things like that. Sometimes I needed to logically do it because I instinctively move my hips when I dance. Like even when I remember my first dance, Annie H, I'll say. I danced with her, the first dance, and I moved my hips, but I just did the same thing over and over. But still, and so I did instinctively do it. But later when I read that study, I was like, women find that attractive. And again, that's the perfect kind of X-ray vision of your own health, right? So I don't know where I was going with that. You were saying something. Yeah. Watch out for pressing the button.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's true, because when I do deadlifts,
Yeah.
that feels like an exercise. And bench press, I just do it, to work out my
There
chest.
you go. There
It
you
does
go.
not feel.
There you go.
It doesn't. It's not the fucking same.
That's
'Cause
true.
With bench
Me
press,
too.
it's you feel like you're cheating. You feel like this is easy. I'm taking breaks. There's something like, I don't know, anything you could do lying on the ground or on a
I
chair.
do a little bench. I'll get on the bench because I had, like when I was a kid, I had kind of a sunken in chest. So I always kind
I
of
have one of
worked-
those.
Yeah, I kind of worked
my rib
against
cage.
that.
Yeah.
And now you can't tell, but I did have that initially. So I wanted to have a normal chest, like the other guys.
Me too, yeah.
So it was like something I was kind of insecure about. And I'm glad I did it because I think I kind of opened it up, and now you can never tell. So there's a reason why you might do the chest. The chest is good. Don't not do the chest. It is a big muscle.
No, yeah. I mean, I still do it, but it's not the same.
No, it's not the same as a big muscle. It's not the same as a heavy leg, press or squat or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's you're listening to your body, and you're kind of rolling with your more truth, your physical truth.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what we're talking about here. It's like you're finding that physical perfection, where you're finding more of your soul through your body. I think you have to find that, and when you find your soul through your body, you feel that in you, right? It's very attractive to other people.
Yeah.
It's very, very attractive to other people. And I know for sure, because I'll be walking down the street and I will have like a lot of women that maybe they're not my type, or they're different age or whatever, but I definitely notice that the more physical they are, the more they notice it in me. Like here in the South, I'll walk by like two black chicks who are like super athletic, and they will notice me. They will like look at me, and sometimes they'll say stuff and they'll be friendly, right? Because there's something they're like, oh, that guy's a physical guy.
Whoa.
Whereas logically we're very different. Like you know what I mean? Like
right.
their family might not want them to date me, whatever the fuck. Mm-hmm. But there's something there's like, okay, he gets it, right? And that's very attractive. And I think a lot of guys don't know that you are a physical being. The more you get in touch with that, the better. There's no limit. Like you want to be in touch with your fucking inner, your soul in your body. It's your mind is there. And here's the thing: a lot of guys and MGTOW guys will say, like, okay, like I don't trust my emotions. I don't, it's all logic and this.
Yeah.
The problem with that is you're so far away from your physical, because your physical, I think, is closer to your emotional. You know what I mean? Like a big guy, you're going to see the guy cry. Like it's there's a thing where the guy's in touch with his body. Mm-hmm. He's in touch with that. It's like more likely to express his, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of it. It's like, it's part of it. That exhilaration when you do something, right? That's emotion. That's emotion. You win the contest. You posterize the guy, dunk him over him. That's like a fucking feeling.
That's a good point, because I like Brandon, he does not like squatting, and he doesn't like deadlifting either. So he pretty much really only does bench, and he is not a very he'll do bench and he's strong, but he's not a very physical person.
Right.
He doesn't move his hips, and he's not very emotional. Like he will, if something sad happens, he'll go, "Ooh, take him out, coach," or he'll like if something cool happens, he'll go, like he does not express emotions.
Right.
He'll use words to try to convey what he's feeling, and but his face is the same, and he won't.
Right.
And he does not move his hips at all. He's very rigid.
It's interesting, because that kind of brings up the thing, like a lot of like when you go, if you study any kind of good PUA, which is really hard to find. I'm not saying do it, but a real PUA guy, he's gonna teach you things that help you to get closer to the things that were attractive to women, which again, it's the glasses that women wear. The glasses they wear is like an X-ray vision of what is an attractive man, which an attractive man, of course, is attractive to women. But the reason why it's attractive to women is because it's kick-ass. You know what I mean? Like that's just a side benefit that's attractive to other people, right? You're not doing it only for that reason. You're doing it because you want to survive. You know, you want to be a man who can like reach his limits and fulfill his purpose, right? You know, you want to be there for the game, you know. And then I say as you get older, just being in the game is important. You know, I feel like right now, I feel at 56, you know, I feel I'm in the game. Like I'm in the fucking game. Like, I don't know, there's no other words. Like if something happens, I'm in the game. I'm 56 and I'm in the game. And I'm proud of that. And I think that as you get older, you know, when you're younger, you want to learn these things and get in touch with your body. And then that will carry you as you get older so you don't become irrelevant. Because that's what happens to guys, is they become irrelevant. They become irrelevant because I think a lot of it is because of the stuff I'm talking about. You know, because you can be like, okay, when you finish college, you get a good job. Everybody's like, oh, he's kick-ass because he's got a great job. I don't know, man. Like the more money you make, the more you're alone, you're kind of doing your own thing. You have a nice house. It shields you from other people. And then the longer you do it, it just like means less. It's like,
Oh yeah.
The physical is always there. It's always there. And look at, I'm not saying that money is career is really important, but the physical is way more important in the end. Like so many of my friends, like they were very successful and now they're not here anymore, you know? So, you know, just that alone. Now, of course, the odds it could happen to me. I obviously I could be not here anymore because of something. And, you know, someone could say that and it's true. And there is like a winner takes all, like stay alive, be in the game. Like, don't be a fucking loser and die. You know, like, don't, you know, you want to risk it, but you don't want to, you want to be the guy who comes out of it even stronger. You know, that's why you're taking that, like it's kind of like Damian Lillard was hitting all these killer shots last night, right? Mm-hmm. And they ended up losing, which was sad, but it was just like, he was just hero shot after hero shot, right? And you want to be that guy doing those hero shots. Like, that's what we're talking about. You know, it's like you're just, it's man on man. The guy's covering you, you know, you're jumping back one-legged. You're just like, you know what I mean? You're just throwing up. You're able to summon everything that you've learned and use every aspect of your physicality to laser that shot into the fucking bucket, even though it's totally impossible to do this over and over. But he did it last night, you know, and it was so cool. It's too bad his teammates fucked up, but you know, that's what you want to be. That's why you're doing it, so that you can live. So that's the crazy thing. You're risking it all and you're learning your body so that you don't, it's the opposite of what people at Starbucks think. Is they think, okay, he's taking a risk, he's dumb, he's going to die. It's the opposite, is by being lethargic and letting those joints in your body kind of like the atrophy and then over time it's like that risk of just the dumbest thing, and the next thing you know, you're totally incapacitated.
When you're tested, you're not ready.
And you have no capacity to come back either. So for me, like when I have an injury, when I do have the back, I come back.
Yep.
It's because everything is built up. It's like, you know, everything is ready to go. So when I do have a serious injury, like my knee and my back, I came back and I'm back, you know, like, so you build it up for many reasons to survive those terrible situations and also to not even be harmed by those situations. And obviously to further add depth to your ability to handle future challenges, like mentally, so that you don't stress out like in a very dangerous situation. Your mind becomes very clear. You trust yourself. You're like, I know I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to find a way. I am going to survive this. You know, I'm going to somehow make this. And then you don't have that. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. And I'll just say quick, when I studied, like the way I learned this, or it wasn't even physical, but when I learned Japanese and I finally realized one day that I was good in Japanese, which I didn't realize because I don't know if you guys heard the episode, but I didn't have this high self-esteem. Like I didn't think I was good at languages. I just one day suddenly realized, oh my God, I'm actually good in Japanese. I was like, oh, me? I didn't even go to school. Like I didn't even like do it. Oh my God, you know, like fuck, you know. So then when I went to China, I just said to myself, I know I'm going to be good in Chinese. Like I know, no matter how bad I sound now, you know, because I learned Chinese at 40 and I just said, I know. People said, you know, you're too old. It's not going to work. You know, like you're wasting time. You could be getting an MBA. There's so many things you could do that would be more valuable for a career. And I said, look, I know I'm going to speak Chinese. I know it. And I said it to myself, not to them. I said, I know it. I know it. And it wasn't an ego thing. It was like literally knowing. Because I knew that I had somehow been good at Japanese, even though I didn't go to the right school, even though I didn't have confidence, even though I didn't even realize I was getting better. It just happened. And so I had this trust that, okay, my brain somehow can integrate a new difficult Asian language. And I will be fluent in Chinese. I will, And then that confidence, I just like blundered through like endless mistakes and blundered through, just misery. Like anybody's learned Chinese, you know what I'm talking about. You almost go insane. Like, I'm serious. It's so hard. And you feel so depressed so many times. It's like you're climbing up this slide, right? But the slide is covered in lard. And it's, no matter how high you get in the slide, when you finally do slip, you go all the way to the bottom, right? It's like you don't just slip a little bit, you slide all the way down again. It's that kind of feeling that there's no hope. Like, no matter how many times you try the tones, everyone's like, I don't understand you. Like, I don't know what you're saying. And you're like, I'm saying the fucking word, And they're like, I don't understand you. I'm like, this word, it's like I'm totally saying it, just like you. And you're thinking this, right? And then there's just one day when you're just like, and it's just like, it all goes away. And you have to, like, again, you got to be willing to change, and say, oh, okay, fuck all that pain, fuck all that, I can't do it, now I can do it, okay, what can I do next, right? So I think it works, that confidence that it's going to work is essential, but you only get that by doing it. So I only got that from learning Japanese. So I got the physical confidence from surviving situations, and it's funny, I was kind of telling yesterday, is there was some point in myself where I realized that my instinct to survive under pressure in intense situations is a something I've obviously worked on, but it's also a gift. I've integrated it. I have it. So when a new situation, because I used to think, okay, in this situation I'm good, but in that situation I might not make it, because I doubted myself. Like, don't think that you can't doubt yourself. You can doubt yourself like crazy. I doubted myself like crazy. I was raised to doubt myself. I mean, Finnish people, like, it's totally like not cool to think you're good. You're supposed to think you're bad. Like, you're supposed to make fun of yourself. You're not supposed to. Finnish language, Finnish culture is totally like that. Like you're not supposed to brag. You're supposed to be very soft. It's like there's all these rules. And so I was raised that way. So I didn't naturally think I was good at anything. You don't have to have confidence. You're listening to yourself. Like, the confidence is this fake thing. I almost think of it as an SJW thing. Like, because it's so fake, it's so paper thin. The reason why my confidence is so deep is because I learned it by listening to my body and then trusting it and then seeing something happen and then learning from it, like Matrix when he moves in slow motion and he moves out of the way. I learned that I can do that. I can move out of the way of these things and then they don't even hit me. I'm not even injured and it's totally fine. I learned that I have that ability, and that confidence came from, obviously being in situations and testing myself, but also just remembering that, I have it, I got it. I'm going to be fine, right? Same with the Chinese. I'm going to get it. Don't worry. You're going to get it. And again, like, don't have confidence. Like, learn by listening to your body to understand your body and understand yourself so that you can ride that bitch. You know what I mean? You can, like, ride that bitch into the sunset, right? But it doesn't come from this fake confidence. Don't have fake confidence. Like, learn to trust yourself and build that foundation upon your real skills and your real abilities. And then you'll be totally confident. It won't even be confidence because it's just a knowing. You just know.
Yep.
You just know it's going to be fine. Like, I know I can handle this situation. It's going to be totally fine. If I shit on a skateboard, I know what's going to happen. Even now, I haven't done it in many years. I know exactly what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm just going to do exactly like I fucking did it a million times before. I'm not going to try something new. I'm just going to fucking eat shit, slide this way, try to keep this off the ground. Try to do that. Try to not get run over by other cars driving by. So I slide in a way that doesn't get me run over. You don't want to slide under a school bus, right?
No.
You want to try to not do that. Or if you had to, you'd want to slide between the tires. You'd want to aim yourself if you had to,
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I would be thinking. Like, I've done stuff like that's totally crazy. I'll be, doing something and I'll think, okay, I want to avoid this. And I'm like, I can't avoid it. So what can I do now? I was like, oh, there's a lot of space in the middle there. I'm going to go in the fucking middle. That's the way my mind just adjusts. You know, I'm just like, okay, next plan B.
So I wanted to talk to you about that, not so much the instinct, like knowing what to do in the moment, but like the story I was telling you, right, where I was on that mountain and I was like, oh, I'm going to
tell the story. I think it's a good story.
Oh,
yeah.
So I was in Alaska and we were on a work trip and we had the weekend off. And so we were climbing this mountain and there's a little sign that said, oh, you can do this overpass and get like a little nice view, right? And of course there's this huge mountain behind it. So I was like, okay, we're going to climb the overview and then we'll get a nice little view. We keep climbing it.
Mount Denali, or this is
this is Mount Healy in Denali National Park. It's like 5,000 foot up. So I was like, well, it's not going to be the entire mountain, obviously. So we climb it and we keep climbing and it gets steeper and steeper and it keeps going. We've been climbing this thing for like an hour and a half. And eventually it dawns on me that this mountain, the overpass is all the way at the top of this mountain. Okay. And my friend, all my friends had turned back, because their bodies are aching. They're in snow. The trail is so small, that's the only part that's packed down. And if you step off, you sink down to your knees. Well, to me, my knees, to, other people down to like their crotch, and so everybody had turned back and I kept climbing this mountain. And at some point I was on all fours dragging my body up this mountain. And I wasn't even, it seemed like I wasn't even halfway up. And in my mind, I said, if I have to die, I will to climb this mountain. Like even if I'm going to climb this mountain, even if it kills me. And it wasn't bullshit. Like, that's how I felt. You know what I mean? If I was gonna, I would, I don't know, it would almost be like an honor to die on that mountain. Like, I was gonna fucking climb it, no matter what, And I had always wanted to be that kind of person, and always wanted to have those kind of thoughts, and then just in the moment, it was real. And nothing about my life, made me that way. I didn't have this, difficult childhood that gave me these skills, and I didn't, go into the military and get special training. I actually had a pretty tame, boring upbringing, like a safe, never really went out and did things, never skateboarded, never, rode motorcycles, any of that. And so for me, I don't know. I don't know where that instinct came from.
Here's the thing: you misinterpreted a lot of things. Is when you saw other people do stuff like that, or you heard because you did this after hearing the podcast, right?
Yes.
You're like, I want to fucking do something where I might die, right? Mm-hmm. So, what you didn't know is that, and this is a great question. Actually, it turns into a question because I didn't train myself into these instincts. I found them inside myself. So it's like that, Forrest Gump, where he says, life's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you get till you open it. You don't know what you get until you challenge yourself, and then find those things inside yourself. So you can't train those things. Instincts cannot be trained. They are totally inside you, right? And the fact that you wanted to, I know this is cool. The fact that you wanted to go to the top is that you knew at some level that you could do it. You somehow knew that this was going to be a good challenge.
I knew that I was going to
solid challenge, right?
Even if I died on the way down, I knew it was going to happen. Even if I dragged my car, even if some of my fingers fell off or something, even then I knew at least I was it was. To me, in my mind, it was just a logical certainty. It was going to fucking happen.
Right.
No matter what happened to me.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. You knew.
Yeah.
You knew. And so that knowing was based on something. Mm-hmm. So this is what is very dangerous about this podcast, is that if you are the type of person who just is a believer, okay, you're like the kind of guy who convinces himself you have confidence, you're doing it like everybody does it. You're not listening. You're not listening carefully, and you're like, I am going to believe I can do it. I am worth it. I am a man. I am this. I think there's a little bit of that you can use, but basically, I'm listening to myself and I'm listening to my instincts, and my instincts are saying, go. They're saying go. They're saying it's totally sketchy, but go. And you listen to that, and then that's why you survived, because you kind of knew in advance you were going to survive, right?
Yeah. I knew.
You knew you weren't going to die up there.
Of course. Oh yeah. Yeah. I knew in my mind, it was like I had no choice. Like, oh yeah. Like in my mind, it was like, well, I have to go climb this mountain now. Like, I don't have a choice. No matter what, I have to climb it. I'm not going to die. I am going to make it. I could die. People have died climbing this mountain this time of year, in these conditions. I have no water, so I'm having to drink snow, which people say, oh, you don't want to drink snow because it'll cool out your body and you'll get hypothermia and die even faster, which is total bullshit, right? Because when you're climbing, I had to take my jacket off. It was so hot.
Yeah.
And I was boiling my whole head. I was actually having to put my head in the snow to cool it off. So it's total bullshit. Like, all these people telling you this stuff, it's just stuff they read.
Or they didn't test it out because you were doing two things. One, you were eating snow, but two, you were putting a lot of energy out climbing the mountain.
I was racing. Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah. The sun.
So whatever they're talking about theoretically that they're repeating, was some guy sitting around in a fucking hut or something.
I was timing the sun, and I only had like an hour and a half left, and I was running. Like, I would take breaks and just race up this hill because I had to get up fast, because I had to get up and then get down before the sunset, because there was no lights. Like, this was way far away from anything. You wouldn't be able to see anything. You know what I mean? So you wouldn't know where you were going. Like, there was no lights the whole way up, and it was hours and hours with nothing. And so I had to get up and get back down. And I did, right as it was getting dark.
That was probably the most dangerous thing, was the light, because
yeah.
When you get caught in the dark, it can be on the top of a mountain. I've done that before, and it's pretty sketchy. Getting down a mountain in the dark. I had to do that one time, and that sucked. And it sucked way worse than I thought it would.
There was no clouds in the sky, and the sun was in its 2 o'clock position, and it never, because in Alaska, it never rises above a certain amount.
Oh.
So it was like a giant sundial. Like everything above you was like a clock. It was like a countdown timer. And so the whole time you're climbing, the sun is the timer, and it's literally beating down on your body. You can feel the warmth.
Yeah.
And that's the clock. Like, you have this much time, and it's constantly on your mind. You're like, oh crap, I've got to make it, this much. And I was like, okay, that took 5 minutes. Okay, oh crap. And there's no cell signal. So you have to time it with your fingers. And you're like, oh geez, I not only do I have to climb this mountain, I have to climb it fast. Like, I have to climb this now. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah,
surviving a night up there would be, it's possible, but it's going to be very difficult.
It drops. At night it drops to negative 20,
right,
or negative 25. Like, that was when we were there, and we were out there at night. That's the temperature it was.
That's the kind of thing that you want to study for. Like, you test yourself on some things, and other things you want to have a backup plan. So maybe you could go online and say how to survive a minus 20 with no shelter, and how to dig in the snow to make a little cave or something, so you could protect yourself.
Well,
and
for me, that wasn't an option.
You could use somebody else who tested themselves way past the limit, where they were the 1 out of 1,000 who survived, and they learned this valuable skill. So sometimes you do want to study in cases like that. Like, I like to have kind of a backup. Like, I'd like, just even thinking about now, I'd like to know how to survive myself in that situation. I'd like, you obviously can build a cave, a snow cave, or somehow there's got to be something you can do, because Finnish people survived even before they wore leather, and it was gazillion degrees below zero.
Right.
And somehow they fucking survived in Finland and Russia.
We started climbing this mountain at 2 p.m. So I knew I would make it there in time, but I knew if I didn't race that I'd get halfway back down, and then it would get dark, and it would just be difficult. It was never where I was gonna have to build it. It was never that dangerous. You know what I mean? Where I was gonna have to build a shelter.
Well, that's what you say, but you never know. It turns on it in a moment. That's the problem. It's one moment when you're climbing a mountain like that, it's totally fine. And the next minute you realize you're in an extremely dangerous situation. Even the dumbest thing, I climbed a mountain. It's not even a mountain, it's a hill. I climbed a big hill in Southern California. My brother-in-law was visiting. My brother was there. We were like, well, let's climb a mountain. And we wanted to go, and it was pretty late in the day. And so because it's Southern California, we didn't really take it that seriously. Honestly, I did. I didn't want to go. I thought it was too late. But they were like, let's go. One guy was kind of leading, and we kind of followed. And, we were all visiting and whatever, But anyway, we got to the top of the mountain, and the sun was setting. I'm going to call it a mountain because it was close enough. And then when we started coming down, it got pitch black. Like, not dark. It was pitch black. It was pitch black. You could not see a single thing. You couldn't see anything. And what we didn't notice is, and this is how fast it can turn, we're like in Southern California, just joking around, totally having fun, shorts, t-shirt. What happened was when the sun went down and when it got dark, I kind of realized that the trail that we were on wasn't really a trail. It was more like, walking on rocks. So when you have a trail, you can follow it in the pitch black easier because you can use your feet and you can kind of feel it, right?
Yeah.
There was kind of nothing to follow because it was rocks we were walking on. So in the day, you could see, once in a while, you could see like a marker or something. But at pitch black, there was nothing to see. We didn't have cell phones. It was pre-cell phone. So we didn't have any lights, nothing. So when we came down, we were on our hands and knees. Eventually it got so dark, we were on our hands and knees trying to feel our way down, to feel where the trail was. And it was really slow going. And then I realized that there was a lot of mountain lions attacking people in that area. Because you never think about it when you're in a house. You don't think about it that much.
No.
But all of a sudden I said, hey, wasn't there a bunch of mountain lion attacks out here? And they were like, yeah, there were. And so everybody was kind of looking at me like, what? Or like, I don't know if they're looking at me, but I could feel them talking to me. And they said, what should we do? And I said, well, the mountain lion is going to see us as attractive because we're on our hands and knees. So the mountain lion, if you're standing up, it's very intimidating to an animal. Whereas when you're on your hands and knees, they think you're injured. You're more vulnerable. And so they're much more likely to attack you on your hands and knees. So we're like, oh, crap. Because it's going to be like 2-3 hours to get to the bottom now. And it's pitch black. It's pitch black. So we're just like, there was no moon, nothing, right? Nothing. Could not see anything. It's the only time I've ever been out like pitch black. Could not see anything. So we're like, shit. So I said, okay, what we got to do is the only thing we can do is howl like wolves and make noise. Because that way, that will be somewhat scary to an animal. Like if we're sitting there all quiet on our hands and knees, that's like a vulnerable creature, right? Whereas somebody who's howling and making noises is somebody who's got power. They still have voice power. They still have energy. So I thought, okay, that's the best thing to do. So that's what we did. We went on our hands and knees down that mountain. It took about 3 hours in the pitch black, feeling the rocks, listening. We're trying to find this little stream that we could hear because we knew once we get that, we could follow that down. There's a tiny little stream, So we're trying to find this stream, and we were totally off the trail. And it took us 3 hours, and we're like howling the whole time. We're like, oh, oh. We're doing this, all the way down the mountain. Like everybody did it because we're like, this is the best strategy we got. So yeah. So you might have not thought that was that dangerous, but that's how life is. Like a lot of the most dangerous things don't seem dangerous. I'm not saying like it was dangerous, but it could have been very, very life-threatening. Just the sun going down. That was the most dangerous thing, actually. Oh. The sun going down that's a killer. Wow. On the top of a Denali, up in that kind of area, man. The sun is the fucking killer right there. That was the real danger you were taking that you didn't probably calculate. You were calculating the climb, but something could have gone wrong so easily where the sun would have gone down. Twist your ankle or something, right?
When I was up there, I was measuring the sun with my fingers, and I was like, oh, I have about an hour and a half left. And as I was climbing up, as I was almost near the top, it dawned on me, and I said, wait a minute, I'm on a mountain range. So you don't measure to the horizon, you have to measure to the mountain peaks, because when the sun's behind them,
right,
that gets really fucking dark.
It gets pretty dark, yeah.
And I realized, oh crap, I only have like an hour. So like, so I started climbing down decently quickly. I tried sliding, it didn't really work. Like you basically just kind of have to walk down. And as we were going down, it was like getting decently dark. It was like civil twilight by the time we were done. Like you could see maybe to that house, but everything beyond it is kind of fuzzy.
Okay.
You know, so I kind of came down just in time. Like it's a good thing I ran up there, because otherwise it would have been very dark. So
the sun.
So yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's serious danger. Yeah, I think so. Like talking about instinct and everything, I think where you start is by getting more in touch with your physical being.
Okay.
You know, it's like getting in touch with your physical being. So like dancing, exercising, you know, that is a great place to start, where you're exercising, but you're exercising for full body balance. You know, you're not exercising to do your chest and arms. You want to be a powerful man who can handle what life has to offer. And that comes from being balanced, you know. So because the thing is, you might think, oh, I don't need to be balanced because I live a very easy life and things are good. Hey, there could be a war and famine, and in our lifetime, I mean, that's what life's about, unpredictability. Like serious things could happen in our lifetime, where America could disintegrate government. Anything could happen. In fact, it's likely to happen. Like that's what happens in life. The world is not from Walmart. There's no money back guarantee.
That's been the history of the world for millions of years.
Right. Things change.
Just in the past 50 years, where you have had relatively no wars.
Right, relative peace and like normal electricity and all that. But that could change. And I'm not saying like any kind of doomsday. I'm just saying like that's the reality of our life. Like it is very unpredictable. So you want to be ready for those things. And there's something in you as a man that knows what you need to. Like you just know. It's not that you need to use it. It's just that a dumb man is not prepared.
Right.
Like it's just stupid not to be prepared.
Not just from a preparation standpoint, but also from like a living. Like when because you know, I'm very logical. I have a very, you know, kind of relatively safe. Like I'm the opposite of somebody who like goes out and does all that crazy stuff. Like I don't know. I don't have a life like that.
You're an engineer.
Yeah. So,
but I think you also have the physicality. You're not thinking about. Like you didn't realize it. You have the physicality. You've always been in touch. You're in good shape. You know, you've always like lifted weights.
But for me, when I do physical things, that's where life is. Like, so it's even more enjoyable for someone like you. Well, for like even someone like me, physical stuff is the most enjoyable. You know what I mean? Even somebody who like was totally not from that world, like never rode a skateboard until I was hanging out, you know, with Joel. Riding that. That was the very first time. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Like never did anything like that. Even for me, physical things are that's where life is. Like even somebody like me who studied all this math and all this physics, those things are not as interesting as just moving my body, which is crazy.
You are. I mean, I got to say, like people not listening to this, they don't know you. You are somewhat of like a savant, like with math and stuff. You're not like a guy who just studied it and got through based on your grants from the government or something. Like you were like really good at it, right?
That's true. Yeah. You're
so
right.
So like a lot of people who are like that feel like they don't have the physicality, but I say you might have it all. So get in touch with your physicality. Like you can have it all. You can have the brain and the body. It's a total fake dichotomy that you can't have it all. Okay, so when you look at a woman, right, a beautiful woman, what is beauty?
Beauty is if your dick gets hard.
No, beauty is symmetry. That's when you want to put a baby in her, right? But beauty is symmetry. So that's what a beautiful face is. That's when you look at a beautiful face, you're looking at the eyes. Like there's not one big eye and one real small eye, and there's not like one cheekbone's high, the other cheekbones. They're similar. There's symmetry is what we consider beauty. So the symmetry of physics, the symmetry of the laws of physics, and you know that is what that is like. It's part of it's part of like our very being, right? What we live on, right? And it's in our bodies too. So when a woman has a balanced face, okay, and a balance like one shoulder looks just like the other shoulder, and the muscles, everything is balanced according to the rest of her body, right? Yeah. You want her. She has to be. She's not just one thing. I mean, you might think about one thing, but what really attracts you is that balance.
Yeah,
And
it's like even, like no matter how big her breasts are,
Yeah.
or like certain facial features, if they're the same on both sides, it looks prettier.
well, that's the thing with a lot of Asian girls is they're going to look flat in clothes. But when they take their clothes off, it's nice. It's like incredibly attractive because they're going to be thin and they're going to have a nice balance
So it fits.
body. So it's very fitting. And I think the wiser you get as a man and the more experience you have with women, the more you want that balance. Like when you're younger, you just get fooled by the dumbest things. Like a shiny object is like, oh, fake boobs or something, right? But or even big boobs. But when you the more wise you get, the more women you have, you start to look at things like hair. Hair is really important. If a girl's got a rat's nest, it sucks. You want that silky, beautiful hair. That is a sign of virility. And let's go into the tree. It's a sign of virility. It's a sign of health down deep. But what I was talking about here is symmetry. So the reason why I mentioned that is because the symmetry, when I said you can have it all, is that the symmetry in a woman's face, this is very unfair, but beautiful people, okay, look, their face is symmetrical. And it's balanced with the rest of their body, okay? So their neck's not like super long. You could have like a balanced face, but if it's like neck super long and your upper body super short, you're not going to look beautiful. It's because of the balance and symmetry. That's what makes beauty, right? So, but what's really unfair is what makes a healthy inside. Balance and symmetry. So when your heart is enlarged, very serious problem, right? Liver is enlarged, very serious problem, right? So the balance of a woman's face is also in her insides. So a beautiful person is more likely to be intelligent because the brain is going to be balanced.
Right.
It's the shape of the brain, the position, the skull, everything. So if you are a person who thinks, I'm really good at this, but I'm not good at that, I would say question that because you might actually have it all, where you actually have both. You're good looking, you have a balance, you're physical, and you're smart. Like it's not uncommon to get all those things in one package, right? So, but society, what they do is they're very jealous of people who are gifted in any way. So they're going to try to tear you down, and they're going to try to make you feel insecure, But part of life is discovering who you are, right? And you have to look at yourself another way. Don't let the people that they'll compliment you on one thing and then rip you down on another, right? I say, look at yourself honestly and if you have it all, you have it all. Enjoy that and share that with the world. And you know what I mean? It's a gift. It's a gift that you have, right? So I think that the fake, when you become, one of the things that people are afraid of when they're physical is that they're going to suddenly be dumb or something. Because in high school, it's like the jocks, they're portrayed as dumb. But I would say generally people that are athletic, if they were given a fair chance in study, or they had a similar motivation to study, they would do well. In general. Now, obviously, there's a lot of exceptions to any rule, right. And also the brain is more a result of training. If you look at child development, than DNA. The brain is built up. Like each time a child learns something, they smile and their mother smiles. Their mirror neurons are learning stuff, and they're learning that they're safe in this world. They're building. Okay, I'm safe. They're building stairs in their mind, and it's almost like a physical thing in their brain. So children that don't have proper development, they don't have a loving parent, they don't have this thing, and then when they get older, it's very difficult for them because they don't have that basic foundation. So your ability to learn is way more important than your DNA attributes, right? Your physical attributes that you got from your parents. I'm not saying that you can't build these things. And even physical, I got rid of my sunken in chest, right? You can physically get rid of things too. There's ways to overcome anything, right? Mm-hmm. But don't just assume that you are limited. Don't just that's the assumption. Because I'm good at this, I must be terrible at that. I must be dumb because I'm physical. Like that is that is just a downright like straight up stupid idea. Like there's no logical basis in that idea.
Right.
Just say, okay, I'm good at this. That's all you got to say.
Yeah.
And then I don't know about the other stuff, or I'm not sure, or I haven't checked it out, or whatever. Don't, but that's what people do. They just, I'm only good at this, right? That's just fucking stupid, In
a lot of those role-playing games, in order to get like a really good strength stat or whatever stat, you have to take points from the other stuff and redirect it to that.
Oh.
So, and that kind of is that mindset codified that, if you want to be really good at something, you kind of have to sacrifice being good at other things.
Right. Like if I want to, in real life, it's the opposite. Because like, say I want to, like, tonight I'm going to get this package in the mail from the court, and I'm going to have to write stuff. But I'm much better off lifting weights today, having fun today, doing physical things, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'll be more ready for the mental challenge of writing what I need to write, right? And the kind of, doing the logical work I need to do later, right? Yeah. But by balancing, by now, it's like strike when the iron's hot. Today we're here, it's a beautiful day, we're in Pensacola, sun is out, we're gonna fucking lift weights, we're gonna go to the beach, we're gonna fucking eat good food, we're gonna laugh, we're gonna have fun, right? And body surf and everything, right? And that will satisfy that part of myself, and then when I get the package, I'll be able to read it. If I sit around and worry about it today and just try to like study law today, or get all serious, it's not going to help me because I don't know what's in that package, so I don't have to read it when I get it. I won't know until I see it, right? So that's kind of an advantage because I can just not think about it because there's nothing to think about. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the fuck is in there. It's going to be a bunch of forms and questions, right? I'll have to read those and fill those out, right? And do my research at the time. But I'm best prepared by fulfilling the other aspects of my body now. And I'll be much better prepared than I would be. So I don't have to worry because I'll be as prepared as I could be, for that challenge, So one leads to the other,
Oh, yeah. So I wanted to, I don't know, I wanted to kind of ask you more about like that instinct, like that instinct that I had on that mountain. Like, I don't know, I just wanted to figure out more about that. Like, is that something that you should cultivate, or is that something you should like?
What was the instinct exactly? The instinct that you can make it, that you're going to go to the top, the instinct to survive once you decided that, and you were in the process. What instinct are you talking about?
The instinct was
the heart of the matter.
The instinct was that I was there, and like in my brain, like a switch went off, and it was like, you have to climb this mountain now. Like as it dawned on me that the peak was the top of that, quote unquote trail, like I knew I had to climb it. You know what I mean? Even though there was no trail for part of it because it was snowed out. Like, it didn't matter. Like, none of the facts mattered. None of it all. Like, I had no choice. And so I was like, okay, I have to do this. I don't have an option to not do it. So I need to figure out how to make it. So, okay, where am I going to get some water? And then I was peeing in the snow, and I was like, well, I'm going to have to drink snow. I'm going to have to scoop up snow in my mouth and just drink it. And, what am I going to do about this? I had to, like, I don't know. It was so cool. So
I don't think that was not instinct. That was a decision. You made a decision based on intuition that you could make it, I guess. It wasn't instinct. Instinct was once you started doing it, it was the things you did to survive, to make it before the sun went down, right? And not to freeze your feet with those running shoes, because you were going through deep snow in running shoes, right? Yeah. Which is not recommended at all, right? Because they're not waterproof. And,
not recommended at all. You need snowshoes.
No, but you did it, and I think you had some kind of intuition that you had gas in the tank, I guess.
Yes.
You knew that there was a part of your body that you needed to stretch yourself. You needed to.
I knew like when impossible. I knew I could do it.
Sometimes, like when I'm in that kind of situation, I just sense that I have not been pushing myself, and I know that in order to, it's just like if you are training somebody in a sport, you'll see that they're very comfortable doing something, but you want to like throw the ball just far enough out of their way that they have to stretch themselves. They have to learn something new. They have to get a better, their backhand is they're not really developing, right? You hadn't developed part of your body, and you're like, I'm tired of this. I want to develop myself to my ability, right?
I remember.
And you knew that was the only way.
I remember thinking that. I was thinking, I'm never going to come back to Alaska probably. This is my one shot. After this, Sunday's over. We're going to be going back to work, and then we're going to be going home. Yeah, so I was like, that's right. Yeah, because I was like, this is my only chance to do this, and I'm going to climb it, no matter what. Even if I wake up in the hospital 2 days later, and they're like, oh, we had to excavate you out. What were you thinking? Blah, blah, blah. Like, or whatever. Like, I was going to climb it because I wanted to prove, like, I wanted to climb it. Like, not prove anything to anybody because there's nobody there. Right. Nobody was going to see me do it. I was way out of sight. I could have climbed back down at any moment and just said, oh, yeah, I climbed it. Yeah, I was on the peak.
Right.
My phone was out of battery. But, like, I wanted to climb it to show myself that I climbed it. Even though I knew I could, I had to physically do it.
I think we need to, that is an instinct, that is a thing in a man. We need to prove ourselves. We need to challenge ourselves. And that's a lot of the, maybe you didn't know you're going to make it. You just needed to do it. It's like, why do we do things as humans? Like, sometimes we don't logically know why, but I know that laying around and doing nothing is not good, Right. And I know that most people are using like a very small percentage of their capacity. Mm-hmm. And I know that by not using that long enough, it atrophies. So you're just like, I'm tired of this shit. I'm going to push this one. I'm going to go for it. I don't think that was so much instinct. That was like something that I just get tired of everybody around me being so sloppy, just so lazy and sloppy and dishonest. Mm-hmm. Like, I just get tired of it. I'm like, fuck this shit. I got to go do some stuff. Like, I got to get the fuck out of this zombie paradise, and go do something, And I think that's kind of sense I'll do with myself. Like, kind of like with Mount Washington, I was telling you, when I ran up on the tips of those rocks, I just felt like I was just looking at everybody. There was something in me, like everybody was climbing super carefully, and they had like special climbing clothes on. There was a glacier and everything up there, mm-hmm. And everybody was like just super fucking they thought they were these big, I just thought it was all bullshit. I'm just fucking, I can run up this fucking mountain, and I just ran up on the tips of those fucking rocks. And I just luckily didn't slip, Mm-hmm. Well, I slipped on the way down, but not on the way up. Right. But it's like, I just get tired of everybody so fucking, what do you call it? Mediocre.
I know what you're talking
mediocrity.
about.
It's like, I just need to go do something sometimes.
Yeah.
That's it. I need, like, mm-hmm. I don't need to excel or anything. I just need to put out some brute force bear action. Like, bears come at you, they're just like that. I like those, I just got to be a fucking bear for a while,
I could never put that in words. Yeah. That's exactly true.
You just had to bear out, you just had to fucking bear, Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes you see those Scottish guys throwing those big stones. I think that's kind of a sense of that. But what you were doing is more long-term, like climbing a mountain in the snow with little time. You were just fucking bear, let's fucking go. Let's go. The bear is not that smart, right? He's just like a big brute. He's just like, comes out there, right?
Well,
and you were just doing that, right? And then there's something good about that.
For half of the mountain, I was on all fours, and I had a lot of clothes on, so I probably kind of looked like a bear, too.
Right. And you just had pent-up energy that you just needed to fucking just go and do fucking mountain.
I hadn't eaten much or anything. I just, like, the energy was just, it was there. I knew I can climb this and climb back down and still get home in time to go to sleep. You know what I mean? For work. This, like, I knew I had to do it. I knew I could do it. If I didn't get to the top, I would consider it pussing out.
Right.
Like, absolutely. No matter what. Like, no matter conditions, if it started blowing wind or whatever, like, that would be a puss out. You know what I mean?
Sometimes you just got to decide you're going to do something, You just got to say, okay. Like when I used to do wind sprints, which I'm definitely going to do a video on how to get in killer shape with wind sprints. But it's like I would just look at a certain tree or whatever, and I'm going to sprint as hard as I can, like so hard that I might fall on my face to that tree, like full sprint, And And I will teach you this wind sprint. It's the best way to get in shape.
Okay.
When I was doing wind sprints, my knee is fucked up now, so I don't know if I can do them. I'm going to try. I was going to film somebody else doing it, but I want to try myself. I want to see if my knee can handle it without swelling up. But wind sprints got me in shape where, long story, I beat the women's world record in something. I came close to the men's when I was in this shape from wind sprints, directly from wind sprints.
That was in swimming, right?
That was in swimming, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it was directly from wind sprints. That was what it was from. Wow. You know, I was a natural swimmer, but it was these wind sprints that somebody taught me that I just had been doing, and they just got me in insane shape, you know. So there's a way to keep challenging yourself. Like that's like a weight thing. It's more of a lung thing, right? You know, lungs and you know, like ability to recuperate and all that kind of stuff.
So we talked about Shimoda yesterday, but I remember the first time you had a video talking about that, where you were out in the water and, you know, lifeguards couldn't even get you, and you were out there like for hours and hours. And I remember thinking, like, I wanted to get in good enough shape to where I could do that.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
That wasn't about shape. Although, yes, it was about shape.
Or endurance or what?
No, I was in good shape, but a lot of that is about almost like dancing. Like the ability to swim is more of an art. And I can teach that. You're gliding. It's not brute force like people think. It's not really. Being in shape really helps, especially when you get pounded by like a big set, like 3 huge waves in a row, and you have to hold your breath for like, you know, a long time on each one, and it drags you. The current drags you. That definitely being in shape helps. And I know now that I am not in the shape I was then. So when I do get dragged under a huge wave, like it affects me more now because I'm not in that. Because my knee, I haven't been doing the wind sprints, so I'm not in the same shape. But the main reason I survived was not that. It was the ability to swim. It was really the ability to, because I grew up in the water. So I really have something to teach about swimming because I literally grew up in the water, like just swimming. Like my nickname was always Dolphin. Like no matter what language it was always Dolphin. Yeah, they're like, he swims like a fucking dolphin. Like in Japanese and Swedish, like everything was dolphin. I always
just a little bit that I've seen you swim. You're amazing at swimming. Like you're so fast, and you're not pedaling fast either. Like I don't see you. You're not like, it's not like you move. It's not like you're moving your body fast. You're in the water and you're all the way the fuck over here, and you didn't even move your arms that much or your legs. It looks like
right.
Like you.
It's an art. It's like the ability to.
It's so cool to me.
Yeah, there's 2 things. There's one is like in the pool is like the ability to glide. So I was swimming in Bangkok, and it was this African guy watching me, and he was like sitting on a lounge chair, and I was swimming across the pool, and then he came up to me and he's like, this is what got me the idea that I wanted to teach people how to swim. He said to me, how do you do that? And I go, what do you mean, like swim? And he goes, no, I can swim. He goes, but he's like, and then I said, well, show me. So he got in the water, and he was like all choppy, and his arms were like, he was trying really hard, right? And I don't know how many strokes he did across the pool, but I'm just going to guess, let's say 30 across the pool. And I did 3, you know? Yeah. So he was like, yeah, how do you glide like that? And I was like, oh, that's what I'm doing. I'm gliding. So it's the ability to survive in very big waves or rough water comes from obviously being in shape, but much more important is being a waterman. Much more important. Oh, the ability to, and this, all the same skills come in handy. Like the jellyfish thing, like I actually should do a whole episode about swimming. I think I should do a whole episode on swimming. Yeah. Because I really might be able to save someone's life, actually, you know, because it's so important. Swimming is like so underrated because you're going to fall in the water. You're going to, you fall off a boat, you're going to slip into a river. You're going to find yourself in a position where you're going to need to be able to swim. You might need to save somebody. Like I've helped people out of the water. You know, my brother like literally saved someone's life. You know, and we grew up doing the same things, like in the water, right? So the swimming is not like anything else. It really is like a beautiful thing. Swimming is a beautiful, beautiful thing. You're gliding, you're using every part of your fingers, every part of your muscles, and you're gliding, and you're like doing all these like long moments along with short moments, and and you're stretching and you're like pulling, and like it's a I guess it's like dancing in a way, because once you get the feel of the swimming, I would say go for the feel.
Okay.
Once you feel what I'm talking about, everything else will work out. Don't worry. It's not like an exact strategy.
Yeah.
It's more like once you feel.
There's no particular way to have your hands or anything.
Well, I think everybody has. There's basic physics of your hands.
Right.
Like they're trying to grab the water and pull you.
Yeah, like you wouldn't swim like this. You know?
Right.
But yeah.
But you're gonna find where that, because when I'm swimming, I'm kind of, say my right arm is like, I don't know what you call that, but your arm goes forward and then it's coming back through the water. I'm feeling the water, like my hands are kind of feeling the water. I'm looking for, I kind of imagine I'm grabbing a rope almost, like I'm pulling myself through the water as fast as I can. I'm just grabbing that rope and pulling myself as fast as I physically can. So I'm just grabbing as much traction as I can on the water. So my hand is kind of inside of the water. There's different streams of water. Like there might be air there where your hand's going to kind of go through it. So you want to miss that. You want to catch the pure water where you're just like, whoo, and you're grabbing it, and you're grabbing the.
I would have never
as
thought
much
about
water,
it.
and then you're gliding, and then of course your legs are doing stuff too. But it's like you're pulling and gliding.
You're not pushing, because I always think of swimming as pushing, like you're trying to push the water behind you.
I'm pulling myself.
You're pulling.
I'm pulling myself across that pool.
Whoa.
Yeah, as fast as and I'm gliding as much as I can. So I don't want to do a lot of strokes if I don't have to. Because if I can gliding is much more efficient. You know.
Yes.
It's just like you can just whoosh.
Wow.
So I'm pulling and gliding. And every muscle in my body is part of it. So I'm twisting like a fish, like a fish, or like an eel. Yeah, it's like.
Or like a dolphin.
Yeah, like a dolphin, or even a dolphin uses their body. But then there's other fish that have more like scaly hands and stuff. Those, or they use their scales and stuff. They use their fins to move.
Yeah.
So, combination of dolphin and some of these other aquatic creatures. I'm not just a dolphin. The dolphin is the basic kit. So that is the key fundamental thing.
Oh, it is?
It's almost like moving your hips when you dance. But then there's other things too. You're not just a dolphin. You also have your hands too. Because dolphins don't have hands, right?
Right.
So you're using your legs and your back, I guess would be the dolphin. And then your hands are another creature, right?
Wow.
You know, when I was a kid,
I've never heard any of this.
No, I have a video. Like I don't want to say because it's under my real name, but I have a video of one. But yeah, no, I'd be happy to go into my own, because I feel it's an important service for humanity. Because I always hear every summer somebody drowns, families drown, and it's so sad because it's so unnecessary.
Right.
You should never drown. Like there's no reason to drown. It's like makes no sense. Yeah, you should never drown. I can basically teach you how not to drown. Yeah. So we'll do a swimming episode. Maybe today, maybe in 2 years. I don't know.
Okay.
But I think a swimming episode would be pretty important, and I think you'd find it very interesting, especially if you're not a water person. But if you are a water person, like if you're a real water person, you're gonna really know what I'm talking about, and you're gonna be like, "Fuck yeah!" You're gonna be like, and also this and this and this. It's not just an episode. Like this is like truth here. This is like, you know what I mean? Truth of physics, truth of your body. Like we evolved, right? And if you take a baby when they're born and you throw them in the water, they can swim the moment they're born. There's videos. There's a BBC great series called, what is it called? The Human Body or something? It's really fucking worthwhile watching. But anyway, they take this little kid that's just born and they throw him straight in the water and he swims totally normally. Totally, he kicks and everything. And then he doesn't swim, and then like 6 months later, they put him back in the pool. He's forgotten already.
What?
Yeah. It was like instinct in him. They should have kept him swimming.
Wow.
I think you should throw a kid, because they don't need air yet so much, because they were in they were in their mother.
That's right.
Yeah, so you just throw them right in. Get him to get that instinct, and then let them keep going. Don't listen to these fucking swimming instructors. They're idiots. They're total fucking idiots. Swimming is a very visceral, very natural, very physical, very healthy fucking thing. You know, it's really better than dancing, really. Like dancing kind of fake, like you're moving your hips and everything on the dance floor. When you're in the water, you're doing all that, plus you're exercising all your muscles, your upper body and your lower body and your back and your legs and your balance, and you can't fake it. Like dancing, you can kind of do bust to move, right? Swimming, if you bust to move, if you try to do something like, let's say you try to look strong or something, it's going to make you go slower because you're limited by the physics of your body in the water. So you're always having to like do it as much as you can until that doesn't work anymore. Then you let that go. And then you go to the next thing. And then you do like a movement. And then you kind of like use your arm and then your leg, the tip of your toes. And then you kind of like move your head. And then you just kind of go to the next one. It's like you're maximizing that whole, the whole of your body, when you swim. Yeah. And that's, and by learning that, soul swimming, I should call it. Yeah. When you learn that, soul swimming, like really, it's like you're part of the ocean, like and that's not bullshit. Like you really are. You're part of the ocean. We were. A lot of people think that we were. A lot of evolutionary biologists think that we evolved into monkeys, and then or orangutans, whatever. I can forget what it was. Some kind of primate, and then those primates ran out of food due to starvation and started to go into the ocean further. And then catching shellfish, and then they eventually started swimming and kind of became aquatic creatures and then evolved back out of the ocean. And that's how we evolved separate from monkeys, because monkeys only ate fruit, so they never got enough protein and oil to develop their brain like we do.
Wow.
So it's always been a conundrum. How do we get such big brains compared to the monkeys? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people think it's because of the shellfish oil and the seafood and the variety of nutrients in the ocean that we got that separated us from the primate.
And indigenous people, even ones that don't have like big ships and do trade, they still live right next to the water. And indigenous, like especially in Asia, they'll dive way down 60, 90 feet and pop back up like it's nothing.
Yep. Totally natural. It's totally natural what I'm saying. And it can save your life too, which is a serious bonus because that gives you confidence. Like I never feel scared in a boat, or like if people say, what if the boat sinks? I don't even care. Like I'm just going to jump off and swim. It doesn't fucking matter. You know what I mean? You know, if the boat flips over, I'll just hold on to the bottom. You know, it's like, I'm really not that worried about it. Like unless it's snowing, you know, and you can't see land and it's like 10 miles away. Mm-hmm. But even if it was that, I know that I'm going to have the best chance to survive.
Right. Of
anybody on the boat. Mm-hmm. And that's a pretty good thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because usually there's always some survivors, right? Somebody comes the next morning, some fishing boat or something, you know. I'm going to be that guy who made it, right? So I don't have that fear of the water. I don't have that fear. Because I always know I can protect, I can survive and maybe even help somebody else, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's probably my most confidence is swimming, I would have to say. That's probably my deepest confidence is swimming. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I talked about that one where I swam out of the cave. Like, that was crazy. I was challenging myself like you challenge yourself on the mountain. Right. To me, the mountain is not the soul. Mm-hmm. You got to be in the water. Like, the water it's got everything the mountain's got, but it's also got that, well, I mean, think about it, we're in our mother's womb, right? We're in there, there's like all liquid. Yeah. We're floating in that liquid. It's our natural state, right? To be in liquid. Yeah. And then we came out. But there's something about us that we're very tied to that. That is a very natural thing, right? To be in the water and to move in the water, you know? Mm-hmm. So I think, and also our body is mostly water, right? So it's a lot of water going on there, you know? Mm. I think that knowing yourself, and then also being able to, in the episode, I'll also talk about how to handle like incredible currents and, you know, incredible waves. There's a way to handle that. And then that goes to the jellyfish thing. It's very connected. Like you're having to let go.
You don't fight it.
You're not, you're going with it, and you're kind of letting it take it where it takes you. If you bounce off a rock or something, you're jellyfishing off that rock. You know, wow. Yeah, and then you're kind of like getting your bearings again. You might grab onto the rock, because that sometimes, yeah, I can talk about all that. So like encountering, like if you get smashed against a pier or if you get smashed against rocks, like you're in a position where like the waves are just beating you against rocks, how you can survive that. And also how you can handle like heavy currents. And, like if you're in a situation where you have to survive overnight in the water or something, I can talk about all that.
Whoa.
Yeah. Like if a boat sinks.
And you have to tread water?
Yeah. You have to tread water, like how to do that efficiently, how to, it's not like how to swim. Like I've always thought swimming is really fake in the pools, the way they swim is they swim only 4 different ways. You're going to have like, once you start to get in touch with your body, you'll have 1,000 ways to swim. Like I have a bunch of ways to swim. Like I have endless ways to swim. If I lose one arm, I swim the other way. If I lost both arms, I'll swim the other way. If I lost both legs and both arms, I'm going to swim another way. Yeah. Like I'm going to have a way to swim. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, you can take it. You can tie my legs up and my arms and then throw me in the water. Yeah, we'll test this out in a pool. Yeah. I'll show you. Yeah. No problem. Yeah, I'm totally serious. Yeah. You can learn, like, it's swimming is easy. It's really easy. Yeah, and it's something very natural. So once you feel it and you know what that feeling is, it'll guide you to be getting better and better, right? And more confident too, right? Anyway, that's a very good initial instinct. What do we call that?
Yeah.
Basic instinct. All right, guys. I hope that was helpful.